traveling time and space in your 392. Let's go into 4 high park time. Traction control's off, and I've still got Off-Road Plus off. Just to get an idea how big these holes are, though. Look at these ruts that people... So imagine when it's full of water, and the water's, you know, a foot above this. Little Jeep trail action today. Woo! Little quick trail ride and trail talk. Jeep talk. I want to talk about something that I've been seeing a lot on the social media sites, and that's people getting their 392 stolen. And there have been a lot of them. There's some security systems out there. I think IGLA, the Taser, I think if you combine the Taser with the Taser Mini, or I believe it is, put up a 6-digit code that you need to access it to get through. So the rate at which these things are getting heisted, I mean, there's been a lot of them out there. If you go through the social media and just search out stolen 392s on these sites, and you'd be amazed at how many people have had their rigs stolen. A lot of them, you know, right from their houses, airports, places they work, things like that. I would love to see a list of people that have had the problem to find out where were they, what part of the country, were you in the city, where were you when all this happened? I'd be curious to know. I know one person I asked directly, she said she was in LA. I saw another 1 or 2 got stolen from Atlanta airport. There's a lot of 392 engines out there. I hate people that steal, so to me they should just get it over with, but personal opinion. So 392's getting stolen, what are your options? You know, keep it in the garage, that type thing. But you have to be able to live your life and be able to go places and do things. But there are a lot of them being stolen, smashing a window out and gone in a couple minutes. You know, you see people like, it's social media. You have to, you know, get what you get. And you see a lot of these comments like, well, it should be in a garage, it should be locked. I agree. If you have a garage, use it. Lock your vehicle. I'm always been of the mentality that you lock everything, you know. The whole point is you shouldn't have to worry about locking your vehicle in your own yard. You shouldn't have to worry about putting it in a garage. It's the dirtbags and the lowlifes that make it a necessity. But in reality, this is the world you got to deal with. A lot of people don't have a garage to put a vehicle in, or they've got a garage that's full of other vehicles. And there will always be somebody that can find a way around what somebody else is building to keep people from stealing it. You can only hope that if somebody's trying to heist it, it delays them long enough where somebody finds out and puts a couple caps in there, and hopefully they won't steal from somebody else again. What's up, little dude? I don't want to bother you, but I'm gonna have to drive by. So you just stay right there and sun yourself. But as a 392 owner, you're just gonna have to make a decision based on where you are, what you think is the chances of something happening. Sweep it every once in a while for a tag. Make sure nobody's trying to follow you around, just in case. But it really depends on the person and where you are and what you feel is the proper way to go. Is it IGLA or what is it, Revico, Taser setup? There's a few other ones that I've seen. Rig your own. let's hope they start catching some of these dirt bags and putting the screws to them, really making them pay so the word gets out there. Lock your vehicle at all times. I mean, I always lock mine, but some people grew up in places where they could leave their vehicles unlocked, and that's the way it should be. People say insurance. Well, insurance is still going to be a hassle. Just got to deal with it. But it sucks that it's happening so much and it's got to be dealt with. But in the meantime, people got to start looking out for themselves and keeping an eye on things. For instance, on one of my long trips recently, it was early evening, just gotten dark maybe an hour before that, and I had stopped at the rest area on I-95, the Welcome to Florida rest area, just as you come in from Georgia. And when I came out, there was a white Chrysler 300 with blacked out windows just driving slowly around, and I wasn't close to my vehicle, and I watched a guy come by, slow down, stop by my vehicle. You could tell they were up to no good. So I kept an eye as the guy came around the second time and slowed down again by my vehicle. So I waited to see what he was going to do. After he went by it the second time, I walked over from the restroom over to my vehicle, made sure that he was aware that I was watching, and it's just a gut feeling. You get a gut feeling when something's wrong, and you just got to go with your instincts. Just be vigilant, keep an eye out on your stuff, and hopefully, this trend drops down a little. There is nothing like driving a 392. It's a great vehicle and a lot of fun. Check out what options are available to you. Decide what you need for where you are and what you do, and just keep an eye on things and lock your vehicle up at all times. It makes me sick every time I read somebody else has got their vehicle stolen. On a different subject, let's talk about the Off-Road Plus button. A few days back, I ran into another 392 owner, and he had just bought his vehicle like 6 months ago and hasn't used it a whole heck of a lot. He's only got a couple thousand miles on his and was asking about the Off-Road Plus button, and I use it extensively. I did a lot of testing and playing around with the Off-Road Plus button, both in part-time and 4-high auto, with and without traction control on. There are so many different ways to handle the Off-Road Plus, and he had never used it. So he asked me about the sound in between the shifts that he's heard on some of my videos, and I said, that's Off-Road Plus. If you're an Off-Road Plus on the street and you nail the gas when it's shifting up first, second, third, sometimes third into fourth, you'll get those braps. 1, 2, 3. If you're in manual mode, not in Off-Road Plus, and you're in manual mode, you can get those braps on the upshifts. If you're really giving it some good throttle and shifting real fast, you can get that braps as well. Oops, manual shifting does that. But Off-Road Plus changes so many settings and functions and calibrations in the vehicle. It's so much fun. There's the brake torque function with, I don't know how many people actually use or even know about it, but it's basically you're doing a brake torque, except they've built it into the computer to aid and assist in your brake torque. So once you start doing a brake torque, as you start climbing in the revs, you'll hear the engine get really erratic. So what it's doing, it's pulling spark and fuel from 4-cylinder. And then the minute that you let off that brake, it puts the spark and the fuel back to those cylinders. It gives you just a little bit extra on your launch. And I've been able to click off quite a few 4.5 0 to 60s, something like that. So yeah, the brake torque function works great. If you are in Off-Road Plus on the street, you nail the gas pedal, you're going to get the braps on your upshifts. First to second, second to third, third to fourth. Guaranteed in Off-Road Plus. And it sounds great, but there is that millisecond or two where it's shifting like that, and it's not aiding in your speed. It's not helping you go any faster. It sounds great, but if you're going for your best time, you want a quicker ship. If you are in Off-Road Plus and do a brake torque, not only will you not get the braps on your upshifts, the transmission will also quick shift, where it doesn't brap and it quick shifts right at redline, and that's how you pop off a 4.5 0 to 60 in a 22 non-XR running on 35s. So I've got the higher gearing and I'm on 35s. But the brake torque function actually is a lot of fun. You know, you stomp on the brake and then you start giving it gas, maybe around 25, 3,000 RPM. You can hear the idle change. Once you release that brake pedal, you just rock it away. And it's pretty impressive for a vehicle shaped like a brick to do what it can do the way it does it. That was a good one. So Off-Road Plus changes so many calibrations in the way the system functions depending on what you're doing, what drive mode you're in, and what the computer sees you trying to do. So if you're trying to do a brake torque, it's gonna compensate for that. It's gonna give you quick shifts, and it's gonna take away the braps for that little bit of extra speed. You know, that little bit of Off-Road Plus increases the sensitivity of your pedal. It seems to make the exhaust slightly louder. Like it, even when you're in, I typically drive in sport exhaust on. But when you go into Off-Road Plus, it gets a bit louder. It frees things up, and it just seems to give your machine all the room to breathe in and out that it needs. Off-Road Plus is definitely more aggressive settings for the throttle, the shifting. It's more immediate. It's more, okay, do this now. Like the shifting, when you're in Off-Road Plus and you do a brake torque, it is amazing at how fast this thing will shift. I mean, this tranny does shift damn quick. I also tend to use the manual mode a lot, and I find that the paddles suck. They're slow. They don't respond as quick as the shift on the floor here on the console. And I enjoy shifting with the floor shift in manual mode. I can control if it's going to brap or not depending on how hard I hit that pedal, whether I'm in Off-Road Plus or not. So I highly encourage somebody, as I did to this guy Tim, to go ahead and play with it, man, because it changes the Off-Road Plus changes the entire dynamics and the feel of the machine. It makes it more of the beast that you were expecting. You know, if you're from high horsepower 470, you expect a certain thing, and then you get in this, and it's like, well, I don't want to say it's a letdown, but it's different than what you're expecting because you've got 4 giant tires that you're trying to spin. And on some of my videos, you can hear them chirping. You know, I've got it in a 4-high auto, and it's chirping when I'm leaving from some of these dead stops, you know, and it's leaving little patches of rubber. So it takes a lot of power and torque to do that. Off-Road Plus frees things up. If you're driving on the street and you hit the Off-Road Plus button, everything seems to get a little bit more aggressive and a little freer and feels more sporty, you know, much more sporty. Shift patterns, way it shifts, when it shifts. But the brake torque function actually is a lot of fun. You know, you stomp on the brake and then you start giving it gas, maybe around 25, 3,000 RPM. You can hear the idle change. Once you release that brake pedal, you just rock it away. And it's pretty impressive for a vehicle shaped like a brick to do what it can do the way it does it. Basically what I'm telling you is play around with the Off-Road Plus button, both on the street and off the street. When I'm on trails and I'm trying to like trail drive slow, I find that the Off-Road Plus button is a little bit too immediate. It's a little bit too sensitive for some of the roads that I'm on. So quite often, like now, I'll leave Off-Road Plus off when I'm off-road, because I know as I'm hitting some of these bumps, it's going to want to jerk and jostle a little more than I want it to when I'm going at a certain speed. Other times I'll take it off and have a ball. So you really need to play with the Off-Road Plus button, play with the brake torque in both the dirt and on the street, and see the differences for yourself. It's a lot of fun, and it's pretty impressive the way they've dialed this thing in. They spent a lot of time, obviously, playing around with the tune and making sure that things happen in a certain way. And you know, they've got all the limitations of the government on their back, and we're still able to do this. That's pretty impressive. As I come up on 73,000 miles in my 392, definitely a long-term vehicle now. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you like the videos, if you've got any ideas on something you'd like me to cover, any questions about it, let me know. The eclipse is happening right now. It's about 8 minutes away from being at its peak here, where they say it'll be 5/6 of the sun, rather. 392 in Snazberry Pearl Coat, running on 35s, a non-XR. Down on the hill a little, so it looks like it's got more space than it actually does. 1, 2, 3.